We have to open them. We have to open the meeting and read them. Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, we're not doing a script because we're not under the emergency order anymore. So like, well, we just like open the meeting. Yeah, how do we do this without the script, Mary? Do you have any good examples? Or we just say, you know, hello, everybody, here we go. It's 7:45.
Okay, then we can go straight to the first item.
All right, let's do it. Right, and I'm moving the first item for Justin. So Justin, at the last meeting, we were talking about you, and you know, your experience has been, you've been very patient, but you've also been stuck because DEP isn't giving you the DEP number. And so rather than waiting any longer and sort of making you drag this out, we wanted to have a conversation with you about whether you would be, whether you'd be interested in doing an enforcement order where basically, instead of waiting for DEP's DEP number, we would tell you what to do in writing, and then that would be your sort of permission to move forward.
My only question with that is it sounds like it really puts a negative mark onto that property that I own.
Yeah, it doesn't carry over.
Anything future.
Once it's resolved, once the issue is resolved and the enforcement order can be closed, and it doesn't get recorded on your deed or anything like that. We can do it as a quote friendly enforcement order because it sounds like you're interested in getting the work done. It's a small amount of work, and if we can just set some terms for how it gets done and move on, then it's probably the easiest thing for you at this point. And the commission is interested in getting the work done and not carrying this over from meeting to meeting.
Okay. Another question I have is, if I was given an enforcement act from the start, would I have saved all of my money that I've spent on filing for the permit, sending a butters notice, legal ad in the paper, and all of that?
No, we would have made you do all that as part of an enforcement order if we'd started that way.
Okay.
So all that comes out in the wash. Now it's just, getting it over with as opposed to dragging it out any longer.
Okay.
So you would have to just submit a letter requesting or submit something to the commission requesting that you withdraw the notice of intent. And we can copy DEP with that and then would follow up with an enforcement order.
Okay.
Right. And Cara is the new agent in town, and she can give you a hand with this, hopefully, and make, so we can get this done sooner rather than later and get it off everybody's plate.
Okay.
Okay.
So
cool.
we should take a vote on that and to issue an enforcement order and, or actually, I guess what we need is for Justin to formally, state that he's willing to withdraw the notice of intent, and then we can make a motion to issue an enforcement order.
Mary, should he withdraw this? Because if he withdraws, then would he need a new, paperwork process and new filing fees and all that?
No, that's the thing, is we can do an enforcement order without that.
All right.
Yep.
Just want to make sure we don't trip over any of that later on, and if he has to, if we accidentally make him pay more money. All right. So then, cool. So Justin, do you mind just, repeating after Mary for the record, and then we can take our vote?
No, just you're in agreement that you want to withdraw the notice of intent. Is that correct, Justin?
Yeah, I'd like to do whatever we need to do to get this over with, I guess.
It's an easy call on this one, and then we just need. I'd make a motion that we issue an enforcement order that requires that the dune be restored according to the notice of intent. The submission, the material that was included in the submission, to be conducted by a certain date. And do you have a date, Justin, that you're comfortable with by that you can get that accomplished?
Well, so my question is this going to be according to the drawings that Bill Holt had drawn up on this? Because
you
if
want
it is, I believe my limitation would be as far as time frame for planting the grass.
Okay. So if we give you, because you're gonna wanna plant that probably in the fall.
Yeah, I believe it's like October or November, I believe I've been told.
So if we give you till, I don't know, December 1st or something, does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, as long as we're going off of the plans that Bill put forth to me before.
Yeah, as far as we know, there's no reason to question those plans, so I think that'll be all right.
Okay.
All
Yes,
right, do we have a
just need to
second?
have- We just wouldn't drop an enforcement order that would say that, and then, you'd just provide some photos and documentation that it's been done, and we can sign off on the enforcement order.
Okay.
Yeah, and so Mary, that's your first, right? So who needs somebody to second your motion?
I will second that.
Longest first ever. All right, good. Roll call. Ben, are you here?
Yes, and yes.
All right, Ben, Bill Lord.
Yes.
All right, and then Dan. Did Dan make it?
He's on mute.
Ooh. All right, Dan, unmute yourself and vote.
Yes.
Thank you, Dan. And then Mary
Yes.
and Peter.
Yes.
All right, and I'm also voting the affirmative. All right, thank you, Justin. Hopefully Kara can get on that sooner rather than later, and we can, make this happen.
Okay, so just to clarify, I'm now waiting to hear from Kara as far as going forward with this, correct?
Yeah, you'll get you'll get an enforcement order in the mail,
All right.
give you directions.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
So in the spirit of doing the same thing, I'm going to move to Nathan Gray at 21 Cottage, the same thing. Nathan, are you here? All right, Nathan, we're not seeing. All right, we can come back to him later. All right, let's get back on the posted agenda. Cricket Lane LLC, 55 Pearson Drive, DEP 050-1355. An NOI to construct 24 single-family homes within 800 feet of roadway, common septic, water, sewer, and stormwater management system. Roadway includes a limited crossing, wetland filling, and replacement with work in the buffer. All right, Cricket, what is going on with this? What's next?
Fine,
First
so
thing,
Point of order, quickly, just, sorry to interrupt, but I just need to abstain from this.
cool, thanks, Mary.
Thanks.
So the news on this for anybody who's following is that the site visit got rained out, so the commission didn't do their site walk. And other than that, let's turn to the applicant and find out if there's anything new on your end. And then we'll turn to Kara to see if there's anything new on town's end.
All right, good evening. Ben Osgood, Ranger Engineering Group, engineer for the project. Walter Erickson, the applicant, and Maureen Held from the Norse Environmental are also on the call. As far as, we understand the rain out of the site walk, and that's not a problem. We'd like to get that rescheduled. We did receive correspondence that was sent in by Patrick Garner, who was someone that was hired by a group of Pearson Road abutters. Melissa Goldner, Peter Frangos, Daniel Linden, Brad Smith, all are abutters to the project. We are prepared to just kind of review that letter and respond to that letter. I don't know if the commission has read it. We'd like to do that tonight to just give you an initial overview of our opinion of that letter. And then we did submit, as we've said before, this went to the zoning process. The town hired a consultant to review this from the perspective of the Wetland Protection Act. It was outside of the Conservation Commission hearings, but it was a comprehensive review based on the Wetland Protection Act. And the reason they did that is they didn't want to come up with a plan that was approved by the zoning board that didn't meet the Wetlands Protection Act, that then went to the conservation and had good had to go back to the zoning board. They wanted to make sure we had addressed all those issues. So I submitted a letter late last week, basically explaining that we had been through this review. The town hired LEC Environmental to do that review, Ann Martin. And she was very, very thorough. And the review actually extended back to a previous applicant on this same project. We started working on this in 2016 or so. So we had submitted plans, been through a review. The project got withdrawn from the zoning board because of some problems with the applicant. So Walter Erickson came in, he's a new applicant, and we resubmitted the project, and the review continued with LEC with the new applicant. So we submitted review letters, 3 review letters from LEC that have a lot of information in them, you know, that go through, you know, she raises her comments regarding the Wetland Protection Act and how we don't comply. We submit rebuttals, and there were basically 3 letters from her, 3 letters back from us. Each time we made changes. And in addition to that, Joe Sawatka was hired by the town to review the civil engineering, stormwater management issues. And we had 3 reviews with Joe as well. And, you know, in his last review, we had addressed all of his comments. So this has gone through a rigorous review by independent town hired peer reviewers. I think it's important information that the commission needs to read and understand. You know, I think at the next meeting, we'd be happy to answer questions about that. We submitted that information Monday night. I don't expect any of you to have read through all 94 pages of review letters and responses and prepared fully for this meeting. So, I mean, I think at the next meeting, we can definitely, you know, take questions on those review items. But, you know, we have gone through a rigorous review, and we feel that these plans meet the Wetland Protection Act requirements. So, you know, I don't know if the commission wants to hear from us about this letter from Patrick Garner, but I think, you know, with the chairman's permission, that would be the next thing that I would do.
So before we get into that, just because I'm going to try to cut as much material as I can out of this meeting, because we started like an hour late. Kara, do we have all of that material?
We do. I did receive it Monday, and I put it in the Dropbox files. I'm sure no one really got a chance to review it yet, as Ben said, and I think we could all use a little bit longer to go through because it was very extensive. But I do have that material.
Okay, good. So then the letter Mr. Osgood is referring to, we've got that, and so we can see what he's talking about, right? I presume as well. That's part of the package he gave us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well then, yeah, if it's okay with you, we'll just read all that as we can, and then we can sort of re-engage with the whole topic better at the next meeting.
Okay. There is one important point I would like to make about the letter from Patrick Garner. So his letter asserts that there are 2 vernal pools on our property. So as you recall, we do have a vernal pool that we respected. It's in the northeast corner. It's a certified vernal pool that borders or overlaps our property and the Martin Burns property. It's a pretty large vernal pool, and that was certified. It's a legitimate vernal pool. There's a second vernal pool located within a purported vernal pool located within the A-series isolated wetlands. We tried 3 times to certify that vernal pool, and DEP, or Natural Heritage, a gentleman named Jacob Kobel, denied the application each time, insufficient evidence, and mainly based around hydrology and the fact that the pool has a lifespan long enough to support these and, these organisms that use the vernal pool. When we found out about this letter, which was a day or two after your meeting, number one, we went out to see what the vernal pool was doing, and Walter witnessed it and I witnessed it last week. It was dry. And in the prior correspondence from Jacob Coble, he indicated that the fact that it was dry in the first week of June really meant it wasn't acting, that these organisms couldn't fully develop before it dried up. Basically, there needs to be water there until they develop and they can walk away and go into the woods. And he didn't think the time period was there, so it's not a legitimate vernal pool. The second thing I did is I sent this.
Hold on, let me interrupt just because I think, there's, to summarize, you guys have a standing disagreement over the vernal pools, and you've got your paperwork trail and they've got their arguably paperwork trail. And it's in
But
the
my
90
next
page
point-
thing.
My next point is very important, because on June 8th, Patrick Garner said our application, and he filed he documented information this spring. The abutters filed for vernal pool, and on June 8th, he said that is pending. It is actually was denied in March. So DEP looked at the information and they denied it again. So Jacob Coble, I spoke to him, and he was a little bit kind of like, well, what's going on here? Why are you submitting this? I denied that. And so, that information was not presented in this letter. This letter was a little bit just disingenuous, because I can't understand why, if it was denied in March, he's saying it's still pending in June. So, but
Okay.
setting that aside, that's an important fact that you need to know as you review the information
Well, here's what I'm gonna propose then. Just put it in a new piece of paper for us and
Yep.
give it
We
to
will.
Kara. Yeah, and we can sort through that disagreement. And then Dan, I see your hand up. Give me a second. Kara, anything else on your end?
No, nothing else on my end. I would just recommend the site visit, of course, before the next meeting.
Right. And then, so going around the commission, anybody want to chime in? Ben, you there? I lost
Yeah.
my visual. Okay. Anything on your end?
I spent some time working with town administration between last meeting and this meeting to get a better understanding of why Conservation Commission was never included or notified in any way, shape, or form about Ann Martin's work in regards to any type of analysis regarding the WPA and this project, and I never really received any answers as to why we were not informed. And I'm looking forward to reading it, but I'm also don't really think it was applicable to this process, since the commission was not in any way involved. So if there are any issues or disagreements that I think the commission has with Ms. Martin's analysis, I'm not really in any way considering myself bound by it from the start.
Fair enough. Okay. Daniel?
No.
Okay. Or sorry, Bill, I skipped you.
No, I'm good so far.
Okay. And Peter?
No, just looking forward to retrying our site walk. There was a beautiful rainbow that night.
There were two rainbows.
There were two rainbows.
We found the end of the rainbow. It was in garlic mustard directly across the street from the site. We were there.
It's true. I touched it. I touched the rainbow. All right. So for my own comments, I'm gonna generally stand with Ben's comments. It's like they can do all the wetland stuff they want, but that's our jurisdiction, and we need to sort of start from scratch and work our way through whatever there is to work with. Would be my feeling. That being said, I see Dan with his hand in the air. So Dan, let's turn you on.
Thanks, Brian. just make a quick comment because I know we're going to get into the weeds next time. The issue with the vernal pool certification is that the original certification evidence involved tadpoles and metamorphs, proving that the pool could produce wood frog offspring. But the photos were deemed not good enough. So, you know, the jury is still out. We're in contact with Natural Heritage because it seems that the threshold by which this pool is being held for certification is pretty high compared to most other certifications in the state. So there are a number of folks involved trying to figure this out, why that would be. So the certification is very much in question. It was not denied in March. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Dan. So then let's go to the site visit issue. Do people want to calendar this now, or you want to do this through Kara later? I'm good with doing it now if people want to, and I'm just going to throw Wednesday next week out as an idea, as a starting point.
No good on my end. But I've been there.
Do you have preferences?
I could do Thursday afternoon, late afternoon next week.
Okay, how's the first at, like, what do you say, 5:30? 6, something like that?
Anytime after 4:30.
Okay. Daniel, Peter, what do you think?
Good.
Yep, that could work.
Okay. Ben, how's good?
Is that?
I'm good. Is that for Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday the 1st, you want to say 5:30 generally?
That's fine with us.
So Lord, do you want to come, or are you done by then? What do you want to do?
If I can make it, I'll be there.
Okay. All right. So with that all being taken care of, let's, the next meeting, what's the next meeting date? We'll put this up again on, where's the calendar? On the 13th of July, 7 p.m.
All right.
All right, in the calendar, 5:30 on the. Cool. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you.
All right. Next thing up, we have
Continue.
Oh, sorry, you're right. You need to. Yeah, you need to
I'll
vote
make
on
the
that.
motion. I'll make the motion continue to July 13th.
I'll
Wow.
second that.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill. All right, roll call. Benjamin,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
and I'm also going to vote yes. Okay, now I'll try not to rush too fast. Next thing, we've got Copeland Shade Builders, 7 Larking Road and ANRAD to determine if areas within a resource area can be classified as isolated land subject to flooding. All right, this is fun. All right, who we got here for the builders?
Good evening, TJ Melvin with Millennium Engineering, here on behalf of the applicant.
Floor is yours.
Okay. I can share my screen and kind of briefly roll through the plan. So I know you had mentioned just to determine whether the 2 isolated wetlands were isolated land subject to flooding. We were also filing to, delineate all the wetland resource areas on the property. I just wanted to clarify that and make sure it wasn't something that the commission wasn't sure of. So with the 2 main isolated wetlands are in this area here. Again, I kind of ran through the fine topo of it and can't find any areas that pond greater than 6 inches that are more than a couple hundred square feet. And everything pretty much drains from north to south through the wetlands and really doesn't pond aside from a few small pockets. The parcel does border along the Parker River. You can see down here, we do have bank associated with the Parker River and also BVW that kind of encapsulates like the whole, the river and along the northern portion of the property line. There's a small area up here as well. If I can zoom in. Up where the cursor is, there also is a small, I believe that is bordering wetland up in that area. And the brief overview of what we flagged. I know it's a large site with a large number of flags, but I can answer any questions the commission may have at this time.
Okay, thank you. Kara, I presume you haven't gone walking out there yet, but is there anything else on your end?
Nope, nothing on my end.
Okay. So then let's go to the commission. We'll go around the horn. Ben.
What do you actually ask? Would I have anything on this? I need to do a site
I
walk.
don't think you will, honestly. I'm just going through the formalities of giving everybody a chance to speak, you know. I presume, you know, I think somebody's going to have to do a site walk, you know, one or many, before we can have a reasonable conversation about this, but whatever, you know, go around the horn and see if anyone wants to talk.
Site walk.
Okay. Bill.
I think without a site walk, I don't have any additional questions.
Daniel.
Nothing additional.
Mary.
Only whether or not it's a large enough site to require a peer review of the wetland boundary, or if we're just going to do it ourselves.
Fair question. And Peter.
No questions.
Okay. So then to get to the heart of Mary's question, do we want to do a group site walk or do we want Kara to go out first and sort of let us know, and we can schedule something through her later?
I would propose to walk it myself with Kara and the applicant's wetland consultant. And if it looks like there are concerns or issues that aren't, we can take that up at the next meeting. But that might be the most straightforward way to do it. If Kara's comfortable with that.
Okay.
That sounds good to me.
All right, just when you guys schedule that, loop the rest of us in just in case anybody's interested in coming along. But I think you two ought to be able to take care of that on your own just fine. All right, cool. So TJ, you'll work that out with Kara and Mary later, and then just like I said, loop us in, and we'll discuss it a little bit more later on the 13th.
Okay.
All right, cool. So then we need a motion to continue, please.
I move to continue to July 13th at 7 p.m.
Thank you, Ben.
Second.
Seconded.
Thank you both. All right, roll call. Benjamin,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
and Peter.
Yes.
And I'm also going to vote affirmatively. All right. Thank you, TJ. All right. Moving on, we've got U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service DEP 050-1349, an NOI for salt marsh restoration between third parking lot and maintenance building west of Refuge Road in Newberry. All right. Nancy.
Hi.
Who? Nancy, you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, and we can see you too. Look at that. All right, go for it.
So yeah, last time we had to continue this project. I think there was no concern from any of the Conservation Commission members, but DEP was waiting for comments back from CZM, and they did. I've been corresponding with them for a while, and they wanted me to provide some additional details on how we would know if the project was successful, like what the success metrics were, be a little bit more explicit, and then the adaptive management techniques we would use if we were meeting that and tying it to the monitoring. So I did update the NOI and I sent a copy to Kathy, I think towards the end of May. So there should be a copy to that. It was small, minor adjustment to the NOI, but there's no more concern from CZM, Army Corps, NOAA, DMV. We've heard from everyone, including all the archaeological agencies, and there's no further concerns about this project.
Cool. Kara, is that all? You got all that paperwork too?
I do, yes.
Awesome. Well, then let's go around the horn, see if there's any last minute thoughts from anybody. Benjamin?
No.
All right. Bill?
Nope.
Dan?
Good.
Mary? Mary, is that you? Did we lose Mary? Where'd you go? All right. Peter?
All set.
Okay. I'm also fine. Mary will come back eventually, I guess.
Can you see me at all? Hear me? No.
I can hear you. And eventually,
I think we lost.
Mary, if you can hear me, I think you should try again.
Internet is very unstable, so.
You can see you. You've got terrible bandwidth. All right. So Mary, like thumbs up, thumbs down if you're good with things as they are. Awesome. All right. So then in that case, let's have a vote to let Fish and Wildlife do some restoration. Anybody want to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the notice of intent and issue an order of conditions authorizing the restoration that's proposed.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. All right, roll call. Benjamin.
Yeah.
Bill.
Yes.
Daniel.
Yes.
Mary.
Yes.
Peter.
Yes.
And I'm also voting yes. All right, great. Nancy, you know the routine. You'll get your paperwork.
That sounds great. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Nancy. Good luck with the project.
Thank you. And I'll be in touch with Kara in the fall while we're doing this. If you guys want to see the project, we can schedule a site visit. Guys, we'll put you to work. We'll have you rake the hay into the ditches.
Excellent.
I'm good with that. I'm okay. Free volunteer right here.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right. What do we have next? We have Dale Myers and Alliance, Newberry 1 LLC, 75 Boston Road, DEP number 0501339. A request to reopen public comments on the project for installing solar panels at the current landfill site in Newberry, as the issues with DEP have been resolved with this project. So it's interesting. Who's here for you guys for the solar project?
Yeah, so this is Dale Myers. I'm going to turn it over to Maureen because she knows more about the procedural aspects of this. So Maureen, it's all yours.
Hi, my name's Maureen Harold with Norse Environmental. Dale Myers is here this evening, as well as Eric McLean. So the commission may recall we were in front of you October of last year to put solar panels on the Newberry landfill. We had filed this on October 5th. The commission opened the hearing and closed it on October 20th. And unfortunately, we didn't receive DEP comments until November 20th. So it was a substantial time later that DEP provided a number of different comments regarding the project. Because it was 2020 and the fall in the pandemic, and of course the engineers were busy, we weren't able to get back to the commission until right now. But essentially, DEP was concerned with a number of things. The riverfront itself wasn't actually flagged in the field. We took that off of aerials. So as a result, went back out, flagged the bank or the mean annual high water to reflect the riverfront area. They also had a number of concerns related to the stormwater management, had a number of comments that they wanted addressed. Weston and Sampson provided a letter dated April 9th addressing all of DEP's comments and concerns regarding the stormwater. And essentially, that was it. I had sent in the revised package to the commission, to DEP. We did receive an email from DEP saying that they are satisfied with the comments. And, you know, we also discussed, I discussed with Bill Holt at the time about possibly reopening the hearing. As part of that, we re-advertised as well as notified the abutters. And I can open it up to the commission.
Okay, thank you. Let's go around the horn. Benjamin, or actually, sorry, Kara, does that all line up? You got all that paperwork?
Yep.
Okay. All right. And so, Kara, at some point, if you have gotten into any of these projects yet and have any, you know, things to contribute, let me know. But for now, I'm just assuming we're just checking the paperwork to make sure that, you know, you've seen it all and you know what's on there.
Yep.
So then, Ben, anything on your end?
No, Brian, thank you.
Ben, are you gonna go to bed?
What's that?
Are you gonna go to bed? Are you gonna excuse yourself at some point?
Maybe.
Okay. Bill, how about you?
No, I'm good with this one.
Okay. Daniel?
Nothing to add.
All right. Mary?
Yeah, I wasn't a member when this project was originally proposed, so I'm not that familiar with it, but it sounds like everybody's satisfied. DEP satisfied now with it, so I'm fine.
Okay. And Peter?
No questions.
Okay. I'm also gonna not have anything to say. So, so then procedurally, what have we just done and what do we need to do? We've opened this up for public comment, but we haven't reopened the permit. So
You've reopened the hearing, so it's just like you've got to reopen it, reclose it. Yeah. So
right.
we can open it to public comment. If there is any.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, anybody here for this one? From the general audience here, going once, going twice, nothing. All right. So then from a procedural standpoint, we're not voting to issue anything. We're just voting to now close the hearing.
Yeah, we still have to vote to issue the order of conditions. Right? It was never an order of conditions issued, is that correct? Yeah.
Yes.
So we have to vote to close the hearing
I
and
thought we
issue
did.
the order of conditions.
Sorry, I thought we did that, and that's why they had to go back to DEP.
No.
Maureen, is that what you need?
That's what we need. So I think what had happened was Bill hadn't issued the order.
They may have been drafted, but it never was issued.
Right.
Oh, so we voted to approve the order and you never got it.
Yep.
Correct.
All right.
So now we're going to have to, approve an order with a different plan. It's going to have a new plan date, I assume. So the new order of conditions will, it will have to be amended. The order of conditions will have to be redrafted and re-signed, and so.
Yeah. So are we going to amend the existing order? Or are we just going to give a fresh?
No, because it was never actually issued. We don't have to amend it.
Right.
It's just like a new order.
All right, good. So let's just take a clean vote to issue an order.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing and issue order of conditions.
I'll second that.
All right. Roll call. Benjamin.
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Daniel.
Yes.
Mary,
Yes, and just with the stipulation that whatever previous conditions, Doug or whoever drafted the original order carry over to the new order.
yeah, I don't think we did any special conditions. I think this was a
Just
pretty
the standard
dull
special conditions, right?
Yeah. And Peter, I got you, right? So
You do now, yes.
I'm also voting yes. Good. So then, Kara, yeah, just double check Bill's write-up to make sure that there weren't any specials. I don't think there were, but obviously if there are, they go in the new one too. But I mean, Maureen, I don't remember there being any. Do you?
I don't think there was any, not that I can recall.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, Kara, just check that one before you do it, and it should be all right. All right, cool. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, so moving right along, we have Steve DeSalvo, 16 and 20 Northern Boulevard, no DEP number, an NOI to nourish the dune and low areas with compatible sand estimated to fill an area 130 by 50 by 1.5 feet deep to ensure existing dune grass will grow, plant additional grass, and install sand fencing. All right, Mr. DeSalvo, you floating around out there in the electronic world? Or a representative?
I'd say that without a DEP number, we're continuing anyways, given the time crunch tonight.
Absolutely, but also just to make sure he's not here. So, maybe he just bounced off the agenda at 7:15. So yeah, let's just have a continuance then to the next one. And then Kara, could you just make a note to get in touch with them and make sure that, just an apology if he was here and he didn't stay long enough for the meeting to work?
Yep.
Yeah, they're
Cool.
not proposing to do this work until the fall anyway, so I don't think they're under a time crunch.
Good. All right, motion to continue, por favor.
Move to continue to July 13th at 7 p.m.
Second,
Thank you. Roll call, Benjamin,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Daniel,
yes.
Mary,
Yes,
and Peter.
Yes.
And I will also vote yes. Okay. Next up, we have the town of Newberry, the Orchard Street Creek Crossing Restoration, no DEP number, an NOI to replace the culvert underneath Orchard Street at Cart Creek, continued from the last meeting. Anybody from the town here for this one or their representatives? All right.
Hi, this is Evan Gavendran from Duros Environmental.
Oh, hello.
Hi, yeah, we had written to continue this to the next meeting. We're still waiting for comments back from MIPA, and we just received comments from DEP today. So we're going to work on a response letter and provide that hopefully for you guys at the July 13th meeting.
Beautiful. That sounds like a great plan.
Okay.
just for the record, there
All
is
right.
a file number for this now posted.
Oh, good. Progress is so good. What's the file number, Mary?
050-1356.
Beautiful. All right. Well, then let's have a motion to continue, and we'll hopefully have all those letters to enjoy in our recreational reading time in the next week or two.
Move to continue to July 13th, 7 p.m.
Second.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Bill. All right, roll call. Benjamin.
Yep.
Bill.
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
Mary.
Yes.
And Peter.
Yes.
And I will also vote yes. Okay. Then in that case, what do we have next? Oh, we're up to Nathan Gray again. Nathan, have you shown up? Anybody see Nathan's name on the sidebar? No. Okay. In that case, let's wait and see. I'll give him a chance to show up later. Trustees of Reservation, 173 Hay Street. DEP to be determined. An NOI for the restoration of 30 acres of salt marsh. Who's here for the trustees?
That would be me, Russ Island.
Hey, you didn't get discouraged with half an hour waiting. Good job.
No, not at all. Hey, if that's the speed bump, not a problem. So I do have a presentation. I don't know if you guys want to see it. It's very similar to the work we're already doing and got approved through the commission about a year and a half ago for Old Town Hill for those 85 acres. But I'm happy to go.
I mean, I'm good. It's not too different from everything else going on. Are you changing anything from the stuff that?
The only addition that we've added is that site's a little wetter, so we have some micro runnels that we have not used and are not proposing over at Old Town Hill. These are just there's I think 7 of them that are designed to address some of the waterlogging happening in areas that the ditch remediation is not going to rectify.
Okay.
That's
I think
addition.
I think everybody here knows about all the other stuff going on. So if you want to pull up your show and just do the micro runnel slide,
sure.
I think that'd be all right.
Indeed.
Does anybody else have feelings about seeing the whole presentation or being reminded of anything?
All right, so
I'll
just to
take that as a
remind you
no.
guys, this is the Old Town Hill 85 acres. Hopefully you're able to see it in my cursor that we're currently working on. We have a year and a half into that restoration. Things are going great. So the new area is on the south side of Kent's Island as part of the Bill Forward Wildlife Management Area. A little closer up here looking at it with an aerial photo. Just to give you the context, this is the commuter rail that it abuts on the east side. This is the general existing conditions, just indicating the amount of vegetation, the dominant type of vegetation that exists there. And you can see there's quite a bit of this standing water that these orange lines are the runnels that we are proposing. And I have some close-ups of those. Just mention that this whole site has been altered extensively by an agricultural past, both these agricultural embankments that you see in this old picture and the ditches. Just like we've discussed over at Old Town Hill. I'll skip this right now. This is the general condition of the mega pools that's been forming over there that we're implementing some of the runnels to help us with. This is what the embankments look like right now. You can see it just with the change in the vegetation. Ditch remediation, you guys know about that. And so here's the micro runnels. So in some cases, we're just not able to address that waterlog trajectory just with the ditch remediation alone. So what we're proposing are these very shallow, they're 4 to 6 inches deep, up to 2 inches wide, micro runnels that will be created with a mini excavator, low ground pressure. We're targeting winter months. If the marsh freezes, if not, then we're going to need to use a variety of boards and things like that and do it very carefully to avoid any impact to the marsh. Again, we don't want to impact a thing. Concept here is we've tried to identify where the old creeks used to be using historical aerial photographs and what exists now in the field in terms of vegetation to look for where these old creeks were. So we'll be opening up these micro runnels as best we can in the old creeks. The intent of this is to drop the surface water level and peat saturation at the surface to stop the spread of the mega pools, give the vegetation more of a chance to recover. So these are the slides that zoom in on the actual runnel areas. So the commuter rail is just on the right of this screen. And that's one of the islands in the wildlife management area, and Kent's Island is to the north. So R1 refers to runnel 1. So that orange line is the proposed runnel, and the light shaded blue area, which is just about a half an acre, is what the runnel is designed to drain slightly so that the groundwater drops well below the surface, typically, 20 centimeters, something like that, so that the vegetation the roots of the vegetation don't remain waterlogged in this area, which is currently pretty much saturated and converting to open water, can then revegetate. You'll see R1 there, you can see there's a bit of a shadow of where an old creek used to be, and we're designing these so that they will intersect with the nearest ditch that will remain open, which is that blue line. So moving west, that's Kent's Island to the north again, and another island to the south. This is the largest runnel area at almost 4 acres. You can see this entire area that's shaded in blue is going through that waterlogged trajectory. Substantial water is remaining on the surface. And unlike the pools, the more natural pools that would be out there, these are extremely shallow areas, just a few inches deep. When there are no spring tides or major precipitation events or storm surges, these areas dry out, particularly in the summer. So it's not only open water, but it's literally bare mud, or in some cases, it's a thin layer of algae that will build up as that water evaporates. But these are 3 runnels forming, essentially into one, accessing that blue creek that will be left. And moving a little bit to the west and then south, this is, oh no, sorry, I went the wrong way. Here we go. So this is the extreme western end of the 30 acres. Again, Kent's Island is to the north. This is a slightly smaller area. I think it's just over an acre or so. But again, this has 2 runnels trying to replicate where the natural creeks would have been to most efficiently address the waterlogging issue here. And it will drain down through that hourglass-shaped pool. We do not anticipate the water level to change in that pool very much, and then out through that existing creek in blue at the end. And then the last area is just about an acre, and this is right in the middle on the south side of that 30 acres, essentially doing the same thing. It's about, it's an acre that's in serious state of vegetation aloft. And I walked through there last fall. It was pretty soupy. So this is right at that point where it's about ready to fall apart with all the any vegetation that's remaining there. But again, this one will drain to the south to that blue creek ditch that will be left there. So that's the close-ups. The rest is pretty, I think you guys have all seen it. The reason why we're doing it, primarily for the sparrow, marsh resiliency, and the environmental services that come along with that. And just for clarification, this is all on state wildlife management land, but this is because we're in partnership with the state, and they provided a match for our NACA grant for the work over at Old Town Hill. So we're on the hook for this element of the restoration project. This is one of 3 additional sites. So the other 2 sites are at Ipswich. There's 132 acres there and 111 acres in Essex. So this is the phase 2 of the ditch remediation process.
Cool. All right. So then anybody want to chime in with any questions, comments, blah, 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 etc. Going once, going twice. All right, hearing nothing. Anybody want to make anybody from the public for this one? Anybody else here? Going once, going twice. All right, nothing. Yeah, I mean, I'm good. I'm into it. So yeah, let's give them what they need.
I believe a DEP file number has been issued for this.
It has not yet.
Did it?
Oh, it has not. Okay, sorry, Mary.
We're waiting for the
Oh, so
fee. Just for full disclosure, I'm working with the trustees on this project, so I'm not able to participate in the voting, but just for what it's worth, I'm looking at the DEP website. Yeah, they're still waiting for the fee for some reason.
Heritage has approved it, so they're not concerned with any change.
And Marine Fisheries has seen it as well.
Yeah, so we've got to wait, but it sounds like nobody cares to bother you with anything, so that's good. Do we
move to continue to July 13th at 7 p.m.
Second.
Beautiful, thank you. Roll call, Benjamin.
Yes, sir.
Bill.
Yes.
Daniel.
Yes.
Mary. Oh, right, yeah. And Peter.
Yes.
All right. I'm also voting yes, sir. So, yeah, we'll get this tied up and taken care of at the next meeting. And, here's some more salt marsh restoration.
Excellent.
All right. Well, then let's see. Moving right along, we have Jared Dombrowski. Is Jared here?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, beautiful. Good. Okay. So Jared Dombrowski, 122A Main Street, no DEP number, which is good because it's an RDA for construction of a replacement septic. So what are we actually doing? Is this an RDA or an NOI?
So I'm a little unfamiliar with the process. You have to bear with me. I know my buyer's agent's on here too, so he might be able to assist. But basically, the septic is being installed near wetlands, but the engineer designed it to go as far away from the wetlands on the property as possible. It's a 15 by 40 pipe and stone leach field. We had conservation come out, mark all the wetlands, and I know the system was designed to be as far away from the wetlands in accordance with those policies. So kind of just on here hoping to try to get that approved.
Okay. Let me turn to Kara. What does the paperwork say that you have?
Let's see. I think this was actually right before I got here. I can bring up the plans. So I'm in Kathy's folder and I actually don't even see the form. I just see the plans. But if she wrote RDA on the agenda, then it must have been an RDA.
All right.
We went through that the last meeting and decided it wasn't RDA. It just, so we don't, she just carried over the file number from the previous agenda, but it is an RDA.
Yeah, I have no recollection one way or the other. I'm just drawing a blank on this one. Yeah. Anybody on that can share their screen with the plan, like the buyer's agent or anybody else?
I can't find an email to the plan. Maybe it never got it circulated to the commission.
And I didn't see anything. I didn't look recently in the Dropbox, but okay. All right.
Are you looking for the actual plan, the septic plan itself?
Yes.
Yeah. You have a visual you can pull up on the screen?
I could try to send one to and pull it up. It should have been shared. I know it was, I'm just trying to send it over.
It's in our Dropbox.
It is, okay.
Is it?
Where,
Okay.
Dombrowski, 122A.
Yes.
oh, here we go.
Oh yeah, cool.
Somebody else get that up, or I can't.
I can try to share this.
I got it here. Oh, it's gonna let me do it. Here we go.
Oh.
Everybody seeing this?
Yes.
Nice job,
Yeah.
Benjamin.
All right.
Is that the only visual? Do we have a bigger version of that?
I can zoom in. I'm guessing the first thing we want to see is probably this.
Yeah.
So
50 foot. So maybe that's 60 feet off.
Edge of
Try
well.
sharing.
So it's
Is that the one with the addendum? It's a pipe and stone leaching field. So it was initially built as an infiltrator, but it was addendum to be a pipe and stone 15 by 40 leaching field. So I can try to pull that up and share the screen if I can get up on mine. I have it here.
there's 3 plans. I didn't see a different plan. There's 3 sheets in there, but they're all the same thing.
Yeah, there was an agreement with the Board of Health that new plans wouldn't need to be submitted based on, there was like an addendum that was allowed by the engineer. So I have it here. I can pull it up. It's just, all it does is change basically the leaching field from infiltrator to a pipe and stone leaching field. And it's a 15 by 40 foot one. Let me see if I can share it. I have to wait till someone's done sharing.
I will stop sharing now and you can share it.
Has it already
Okay.
received Board of Health approval?
It should be, yes. And can you see it?
Nope.
Nope.
This is sharing.
You've got your screen. You just gotta get in.
Okay. Yeah, this is the new system. Try to zoom into I'm a little unfamiliar with the process. If you need me to change onto anything, please just let me know.
Okay.
Are people seeing the plan? Because I'm seeing a frozen image of Brian.
That's all I see too. So doesn't seem to be working. I guess.
I see Mary now.
Let's see. Trying to see if I can get this to share the whole screen.
1 second. Kevin, do you have a copy of these plans at all? Here we go. That should hopefully be able to be seen now.
I did it. Yep.
Okay. Apologize for the delay.
All right.
Are you able to zoom that
yeah,
in a little bit?
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that?
Can you zoom it in a little bit?
Zoom in. Sure. Let me know what you want to see.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks. So you're 60 feet roughly, the leach field to the nearest wetland, 59 feet. I guess it's changed too. Okay.
It's basically as far away as you could get it on the property. Yeah.
Okay. And you said this has received Board of Health approval, or it's in the process?
No, I believe it has received Board of Health approval based on the change being an infiltrator. I mean, from an infiltrator system. I mean, when it was originally designed it was going to be approved, but you know, it's just based on the fact that we were hearing that the town was getting away from the infiltrator system. My engineer reached out and asked if they would just be able to do this addendum and submit the plans as a pipe and stone, especially after talking to the installer, Pearson, as well. So they agreed to just allow him to do that.
Right, so we don't know if actually they've signed off on this plan yet or not. Okay.
They should have.
Okay. It seems
Okay.
straightforward. I mean, we don't have anything to say about the design. We can't.
I know also hay bales will be utilized too, just to add extra. He designed it with additional protection. He said when it was an infiltrator, but now since it's a pipe and stone, he's also going to use hay bales to add during the construction process, so it doesn't infiltrate. It doesn't infiltrate to the wetlands at all.
And is this in the location of the existing system?
No, the existing system is closer to the home, closer to the wetlands. So this was basically, if you look out my backyard, it's pretty much as close to the street, Hickory Lane, as you can get, you know, at the far right east edge of the property. So, you know, the wetlands, if you look at my backyard, they're to the left, closer to the neighbor's yard on 124, 126. It's like a multifamily home, big yellow home, where it lays close to the street, away from that area as you can get to the right.
And
Could you actually point to that on the plan where the existing, the current tank is and all that?
Yeah, so this is what basically the property, the back right property expands 15 by 40 feet towards this neighbor's property. My existing, let's see, well, you can see the shed right here. Yes. My existing tank is like right here. It's more to the left side of the property. So obviously when that was, you know, Title V did not pass, and we had the wetlands, conservation come out to test, and after that we determined that the best place would be pretty much as far to the property as can. But the old tank's like right here, and it goes down towards the shed area, and the wetlands is more over in this area.
What's going to happen to the old tank? You filling it, crushing it? What's going on with that?
I think they're removing it and taking it away. That's what I was told.
You think the erosion control would need to be on the wetland side of that operation?
I'm sorry?
If you're doing work in that area where the old tank is, what you've just described, that's not, the protection of the erosion control is not going to, you need more erosion control, I would think, in my opinion.
Yeah, you just want to wrap it around so it includes the area of the tank, so that any soil disturbance is encompassed by the erosion control barrier. So
he might. I'm not really good at reading these plans. I apologize. The tank here, if this is the deck right here, I'm sorry, I didn't even look at this properly. It's just like a first time thing for me. Then here's the deck. The tank is in this area right here in the leaching field down this way. It's not on this side. I just misread the plan. It's over in this area here.
And then is that a concrete pad? That's that square thing that's right at the base of the, right there.
Right here, yeah, that's going to be getting removed.
So where you're more than 450 feet from the wetland edge, and it's an improvement because their system is going further from the wetland, and it has to be done. It seems fairly straightforward, provided the Board of Health has signed off on it.
I did, yes. The tank will be removed, the old tank. And it should be protected on any erosion to the wetlands based on the engineering plans.
We good, Brian?
Yeah, I'm just sort of chewing on, this is a lot of excavation going on that's not in the ask. That's a lot of earth moving that's, not in here. So I'm just thinking about changing the paperwork to, account for that. But, it's still the same stuff. It's just, do we want to do anything more than the erosion control? Or do we just want to let this one go?
I have a question. Just is this an RDA or is this a notice? What is our normal? It seems like normally something like this would come in as a notice, I think, but I'm not certain. Any of you guys have any thoughts about that?
I think it would typically be a notice of intent, but I don't know how early on this was, whether Bill had given any guidance about how to file this or anything previously. I'm comfortable with it being an RDA just because there's nothing really we can condition other than the erosion control barrier. It's something that needs to be done and an improvement.
Yeah, no, I think I would the things on my mind would be sort of a pre-construction meeting, a pre-construction line check, walk in the erosion control, just that kind of thing, just a little QC on the erosion control line. But yeah, I think we can get away. I think an RDA is okay. They're septics. They're not that much.
We can add a couple of conditions to the determination that include a pre-construction visit and an erosion control check. That seems reasonable. And a post-construction report or something, which wouldn't necessarily be, because they won't need a certificate of compliance, right? So we need some kind of a post-construction report saying that this site is stable, and if it's not, then we could take action at that point.
Right. And that's a good thought, Mary. But this is your backyard, you're saying, so it's not like we have to worry about the erosion control rotting in place, for 3 years after, which is good. All right. No, that sounds like a solid plan, Mary. You wanna make a motion to that effect?
Sure, I make a motion to issue a negative determination of applicability with the special conditions that there be a pre-construction site visit with the agent and post-construction report documenting the site is stabilized.
I'd second that.
All right, thank you. Roll call. Benjamin.
Yep.
Bill.
Yes.
Daniel.
Yes.
Mary.
Yes.
And Peter.
Yes.
And I'll also vote yes. So good.
So negative
Sorry, you got all
determination.
that.
Yeah,
Yep, I'm good. Yep.
that's good. Okay.
Cool. And then, yeah, all right, beautiful. So Kara will get that in the mail to you. So I think we're good. Let's keep moving. Before we get to the next item, I'm going to take some executive authority and kick Ben out of this meeting. Do we need to vote on that by any chance, or Ben, will you just voluntarily leave?
I'm voluntarily leaving before I just go to complete incoherence. But thank you, and have fun for the rest of the evening.
Good night.
Can I ask a question? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. That's all right.
So I'm just trying to get some information. Am I all set to work with the Board of Health approval? As far as like installation goes, or what's the next step here? I don't own the house currently. I'm actually on the West Coast, so I'm just trying to get the, right now it's kind of like waiting for the installation to happen. So I'm just wondering if we're all set to start work with the Board of Health for approval and all that.
We don't know what the Board of Health is doing, so you have to check with them.
But for the RDA, you can work within the 10-day appeal period at your own risk. So you have to wait you're gonna have to wait to get your order of conditions from the Conservation Commission. In addition to whatever's going on with the Board of Health, you have to wait for us to send you your conditions. And then because it's an RDA and not an NOI, you can work during the 10 business day period after you receive the conditions. But if somebody appeals it, then you're doing so at your own peril.
Okay.
Or the owner is.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem. Now I'll leave. All right. Bye-bye now.
Nice finishing.
Thanks.
All right. So then, here we go. Where are we? We are on to the next page. Hallelujah. Mary Beth and Larry Abbott at 69 Southern Boulevard. No DEP number. And at 71 Southern Boulevard. We'll open both of them.
There are DP numbers.
Oh, good. What are they, Mary?
1358 and 1359.
Yeah. 2 NOIs to replace a single-family home with a new single-family home on pilings with associated site work. All right.
Good evening.
And there you are.
Yep.
I've been waiting for you.
Yeah. Well, I'm here. So, I'm here. Let's start with 69 Southern Boulevard. I'm here on behalf of the Abbotts and the application for 69 Southern Boulevard as well as 71. They do have file numbers, as Mary just noted, and there's also a file number for the hearing that follows. Your agenda just hasn't been updated with those numbers. We've had numbers for these hearings for a while, but we just got comments posted from DEP. So I want to go through those with you. I think they're pretty straightforward. If it's okay with you, I'll share my screen.
Go for it.
Okay, so this is the site, 69 Southern Boulevard. This is 71 here. The thing you'll note is the assessor line is not accurate and the property line actually cuts through the house at 71. So we're proposing to remove this structure and build a structure back more in line with zoning setbacks in this lawn area back here. We went through this at the last hearing. Just to remind you, there's a slight area of the property that's within the VE 16 zone, but the remaining area of the property is actually mapped out of the flood zone in the X zone. There's a large area of pavement that extends all the way over in front of the building at 71, as well as this building here that encroaches, and we have this building here. This is the flood map. Okay, so this is a picture of the existing structure. You'll notice it's sort of this remnant lawn area, overgrown landscape plants, and then there's some invasives kind of growing their way through here. The back area being lawn, and then around it you have some evergreens that kind of make up the canopy that you see shown on the plans. This is a picture of the encroaching area right here. And again, we went through this at the last hearing, but you can see the encroachment here. The plan is to remove the pavement, remove the building, and as described in the NOI, the void left from removing the building and its foundation and the pavement would be filled with clean, compatible sand. And then the new drive constructed with gravel as shown, or shell. So the DEP comments were twofold. They said that dune vegetation shows up on aerial photographs, and that we should show where we are putting 10 cubic yards of sand. We estimated approximately 10 cubic yards. It's a best guess at what it will take to fill in the voids from the driveway and the building. There's really not much we can show on the plans. We're basically saying it's to match grade, and we've described that in the narrative, and that's pretty common, that you just fill in whatever void to match grade from removal of a structure. And the vegetation is pretty well detailed on the plan. We have the tree line shown, we have the areas of lawn shown, and we also have a full accounting of our vegetative impacts and how with replanting, I'm sorry, that's the wrong table, but it's over somewhere here.
Top.
Oh, yeah, up top. Second, where'd I go? Went too far up. Okay, so right there. So we went through this last time. Basically, we start with 5129 of vegetation. We end up with 5269. And we go from areas of lawn to areas of native vegetation. We're proposing to plant dune grass 1 foot on center. So this is pretty straightforward. I know that some of the commissioners were talking about maybe driving by. If you have any questions or any comments, I'm happy to try to address them.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Let's go around the horn. No, Ben, Bill, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm good. So I'm good with this. No questions.
Okay, Daniel.
So I think my only real question is just there's an area there where there was, you said locust trees.
That's on 71, which will.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll wait till that comes around then.
Okay.
Okay, Mary?
Yeah, Tom, do you have an elevation plan that shows the height of the building above grade?
Yes.
Foundation plan?
Yeah, that is right.
Okay. So you have two, what is it, 2? I can't see it.
2.5 feet, I think it is. 2.4
okay.
feet to the bottom of the structure.
That's been standard.
Yeah, we have minimum 2 feet labeled here, but what I've recommended to everybody is, plan for a little bit more. If we end up with a 2 foot, then that's the minimum standard. The problem is when we say 2 feet, we end up with somebody who, goes to 18 inches in a corner. So, so we have a minimum 2 feet here, but
okay.
My recommendation to them is 2.4, I think.
Yep.
On this one.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, I've been to the site. It's the house is in pretty much disrepair, it looks like, and we're getting more vegetation on the lot as a result of the development. The house is getting raised up higher, so I think it's an improvement. And
okay.
My only other question, I'm sorry, is, are you satisfied that plan that you just showed us addresses DEP's comments? It seemed like you had the vegetation mapped on your plan already.
Right. And the thing is that they posted the same comment on both projects.
Right.
And I do feel like this provides a lot more detail than a lot of other plans that get approved pretty regularly. So I don't know if they're misinterpreting an aerial and seeing the lawn and somehow thinking that's dune grass, but even if it was, we're still increasing vegetation and we're removing all that pavement and building. Even if all the vegetation on site that is mapped on here were not lawn, it would say it was all the most beautiful dune grass in the world. It's still a beneficial project.
So all of the green stippled area is to be planted. Is that
right? As well as the standard any areas disturbed during construction.
Okay. Yep. I'm all set then, thank you.
All right, thanks, Mary. Peter.
All set.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm good on this one.
Okay, so the question for you, Mr. Chair, is do you want to keep this open, move on to 71, go through that just in case there's any interrelation?
I open them together. Let's close them together.
Okay, so let me go into 71. Okay, so 71 is comprised of 2 lots that have merged for zoning purposes. There's a large area of lawn. There's this turnaround driveway here. There's areas of sand here, and then we have some woody vegetation in this area, but we also do have, I think there's 1 black locust on this side, and then this whole area here is pretty much dominated by black locust, and then debris piles that are left over from the prior owner. And let me, so again, here's a decent aerial. And this is the area of black locust and debris piles. You can kind of see these debris piles in there. Again, we're out of the floodplain. We have the site plan showing the areas that will be vegetated, showing the relocation of the structure into the center of the lot. We have the profile view. Here's the rendering of the structure, all 4 sides. We have the minimum 2 feet on this, and so just to show you, here's that stand of locust back there. I think DEP is seeing the stand of locust here, and thinking this is dune vegetation in an aerial photo, and there's not much worse than a black locust in terms of an invasive tree. So, you know, you can see there certainly is some dune vegetation at this end of the lot, and the other end is lawn. But again, in the end, we go to the site plan. I go to that table, and hold on a second. I think I had to do this last time, and I never straightened that out. So again, we have a table here, this time at the bottom, and we go from 9,296 square feet of vegetation to 10,837, and we get rid of all the black locusts. And again, we're just talking about American beach grass 1 foot on center. If the commission did want a condition that we add some woody vegetation in there and specify a number, we'd be willing to accept that as a condition. But I think until the black locusts are gone and not rearing their ugly head again, I was thinking it'd be a lot easier to manage if it was dune grass.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Moving right along then. Bill, what's on your mind here?
I think it all looks good. I'm fine with it.
Okay. Daniel?
Yeah, so I started talking about the locust area there, and that type of, you know, with that type of existing vegetation, trees, shrubs, that sort of thing, I'm just sort of wondering how successful dune grass will be if the soil is not, maybe it's more organic than it is sand, maybe some other plants would be more suitable there. I don't know what, but I'm just kind of wondering.
Well, I think with the locust gone, you know, dune grass will do well with some organic stuff. It just gets more competition. The reason it grows so well in a dune environment is because it can outcompete things that can't really grow well in a pure sand environment. If we plant dune grass and other stuff comes in, if it's not an invasive, then I think that's fine. As I said, we're willing to put in woody vegetation. My concern was when you remove black locust, even with the best of removal of the stumps and everything, you get root sprouting, and even with herbicide, you get resprouts. And if we keep it clear of woody vegetation that might mask it, I think it's easier for them to to make sure that we eradicate the black locust before doing anything else. But it's a good point. I did not stick my auger in the ground. It's an area that does have debris piles that have probably composted a little bit too. So there may be a little bit more organics back in there. And you know, I am open to something other than dune grass back there.
Okay. You good, Dan?
Yeah, you know, maybe Mary has some other ideas there too. I don't know.
Okay. Well, Mary, it's your turn.
Yeah, I'm wrestling with that too. Just getting some more diversity there to replace the, you know, the structural diversity that you have from the tree cover and shade and everything. So I guess I would like to have a little more diverse planting plan that would provide either some more shrub or tree cover. Tom, do you know if the locust is allelopathic, is it going to prevent other stuff from sprouting near it?
You know, it's
Like
funny.
Norway maple wood?
It's one of the few I've actually never had to research that because it's just such a bad invasive that.
Yeah.
But under the locust in my yard,
there's stuff that goes under it, right?
Yeah, we get honeysuckle and flora underneath. So
right. So so if you could, you know, include some bayberry or something dense that is going to be able to outcompete that.
Could could we agree on a number and have it be a condition that we plant in addition to our 1 foot on center American beach grass planting, and we would still plant it so that you're assured that we're getting that coverage? And then
how many locusts are you taking down? Are they shown on the plan?
They are not labeled as locusts on the plan. Okay. You see all these things are shown here, but we don't, they show the plants but not the canopy. I'm guessing there's certainly 6 good sized ones, and there's got to be a ton of little saplings in there. So
yeah,
you know, I think 12 would be kind of a fair number.
It's kind of what I was hitting on, and if we say 12 woody plantings, trees or shrubs from the CZM's coastal plant list.
Yeah, and
fine.
Yeah, one thing I do suggest being careful is when you reference the CZM coastal plant list is to make sure you reference the dune section of that plant list.
The dune section, yeah. I mean, I think a black cherry or a red cedar, you know, would be.
Yeah, I'm partial. Yeah, I'm partial to the bayberry, and if we still have some shade, there are a couple natives back there, and if we still have some shade, then blueberry would probably do pretty well there. If there's any kind of organic soil, they actually do pretty well in the dunes if you've got a trace of organics. So yeah, if we could just have a condition for 12 woody plants to be added in addition to the proposed planting, and then the location to be approved by the conservation agent. Does that sound acceptable?
I don't even think it's necessary that the location be approved.
Okay.
Personally, just because it's all dune, you know, wherever you put them, it's going to be a resource. I don't know, maybe others have feelings about that, but I guess we wouldn't want them to be just foundation plantings, you know, around the house. They need to, they're intended to provide some kind of
right.
You know, habitat.
Right. So within the broader dune area and not right up against the house. That's pretty clear. That's certainly in the hearing record.
All right. You good, Mary?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Peter?
Just one question. What's the size of the structure, the square footage?
Let me go. There is that zoning table. Let's see. And these have gone to zoning. Let's see. Lot coverage. It's funny, I don't have those. Well, I can give you the area, I just can't give you the floor area. So the existing building's 1,031 and the proposed building, step, spiral, and overhang 1,718.
Thanks.
Okay. So for me, I'm less worried with the sort of the after plantings, and I'm more, what's the plan of action for getting rid of the locusts, and what are you going to do with them? Are you going to chip them? Are you going to burn them? How are we getting out? And what, is it cut paint? Is it, are you just ripping it out? I mean, what's
The plan currently is to cut and remove the stumps, and remove everything from site. And in getting the stumps, trying to get the roots. If we end up with difficulty doing that, we're not in an aquatic resource area, so actually, unless the commission objected, I would suggest that even Roundup would be suitable to either paint any broken roots, or cut roots, or paint any stumps that remained. But if you don't treat it, we're gonna get sprouting everywhere, wherever any roots remain. So I think if it's okay with the commission, we would probably apply some Roundup to remnants, but we want to get out as much as we can.
Right. And then when you say you're going to take it off site, can you be a little more specific? I don't want to, dump this somewhere and have it resprout out wherever it ends up,
Once it's out of the ground, it's not that hardy that it's going to really resprout. In fact, locust wood is in a lot of demand for use as posts and as piles and things like that. And so it would be up to the folks removing the tree where they would take it. They may chip it. They may choose to cut out some usable lengths. But it's not like knotweed where you put it down somewhere and it resprouts. The problem is when it's in the ground, if you don't get the roots out, they just grow.
Well, the other thing I'm worrying about with the chipping and where it ends up is whatever fruit is left hanging in the tree from either this season or last season. If you just throw it on a truck and drive it around, you're just one big distribution event, depending on what's still there.
By the time we start work, the fruit's probably going to be gone because say you close an issue tonight, we've got time for you guys to issue the actual written decision. Then we've got a 2-week appeal period. These things have just finished flowering. We certainly can take care to bag any fruit trimmings or anything like that and make sure we rake all that up. However, there's going to be some seed in the soil probably for years to come, and this will be an ongoing maintenance thing. And what we can do is provide you a report that the site is free of black locust at the time we come in for a COC.
Yeah. I think sort of the orders that I had in mind or something like what you just said, sort of, you've got a clean site when you come to the COC, but I also want to make sure that we're not creating any headaches for anybody else. And so whatever the offsite choices are for disposal, it'd be good to have some receipts basically showing that, we're not creating any more trouble for anybody else, either by taking seeds offsite and driving them around or throwing any ripped up roots just over in the trash pile.
Right. What we can do is we can make sure that any material leaving the site that is viable. So if it has seed, if it's viable, that it will be disposed of appropriately, and we'll provide you with information, or we will document that it leaves the site non-viable. So either chipped or so probably what we would do is chip any branches if it's got seed, and then just take the wood away. Where the wood goes, the wood's not viable. It's really just the seeds.
Right. No, it's the seed and any lively root material.
Yeah, but once the roots are out of the ground, they're not going to be viable very long. Again, it's not like some of the other invasives that are crazy.
Right. But
Right.
it's also, I mean, accidents happen more or less.
Absolutely. So why don't we just document the condition, at the time of removal, we will make sure any viable portions of the plant are chipped or otherwise disposed of, and we will document any otherwise, in a manner that, renders them non-viable.
Right. And go for it, Mary. I was just gonna,
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, we can,
no.
condition this, we can put these in special conditions, and we can vote to, approve the project, close the hearing, and issue special conditions that deal with invasive species management, and take some time to draft those and approve the order of conditions at the next meeting, or, actually sign off on it at the next meeting. So we don't have to work out the specific language necessarily right now. If Tom wants to provide some proposed invasive species management language, we can incorporate that into the final.
Right. I mean, I could pretty easily write up a condition that I think would address this, which really is all about no material will leave the site in a viable manner.
Right. So we can
Right.
we can separate we could close the hearing and vote to issue an order of conditions, but then take our next couple of weeks to actually draft the conditions that include whatever we want for special conditions on invasive species management.
Right. Yeah, and all I was gonna say, Mary, was something, directed at Kara to the effect of what you just said, saying, we can figure this out and go back and forth over the details.
Yeah, another suggestion, how would you feel about just conditioning that prior to start of work, we need to submit to you an invasive species plan for review and approval for handling the
We want to have it as
I mean,
part of the order of conditions, just so that it's not a separate document that we're asking for after.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I'm just trying to figure out, your agendas are long enough and trying to prevent it from being longer next time.
We're just trying to not have our orders require additional information.
Got that. Yeah, so I'm good with that. I mean, this is one where it's pretty straightforward what we have to worry about.
All right, cool. So then let's go with Mary's plan, and Kara, we can, help you out with whatever language you need help with, or BMTVs, or, you can just trust Tom as well. Tom, don't take advantage of her.
If you guys are going to issue at the next meeting, is that what you're thinking then?
I would just propose that we draft something so that we can approve it at the next meeting.
Right. So if we're going to do that, should you keep this hearing open so that I can actually maybe give you a written document that you can refer to about how we'll manage it? Would that be easier?
Me too. Yep.
So what?
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't matter for your calendar, Tom, then yeah, sure, let's do it that way.
Well, I mean, it sounds like it just means your condition can be shorter.
Yes.
And so why don't I'll make sure I work with our overall team and come up with an approach. It'll include some use of herbicide. Let me just ask you, are you guys okay with Roundup versus rodeo? Since it's not in an aquatic setting?
I think just do your best with what you're proposing, and then we'll react to that.
Okay.
If we have to amend it, we can amend it as part of our decision.
Generally, I think rodeo is better just because there's just less in it. Roundup has all the extra stuff. So
it just makes it stick. Right. That's fine. And actually, I might go with triclopyr anyway, but I'll sort that out. Let me so why don't we given that, I think if we want to move forward on 69, I think that seems pretty good. And this one, if you want to, I'd appreciate if you voted to kind of draft the order for issuance at the next meeting, but left the hearing open, and that will allow me to get you that written information for incorporation.
Yeah, I think, Tom, the one thing I'll add in is that for 69, I think we should just use all the same language, just because whatever's underground, I don't know where the roots are in regard to the property line, and where the seeds have fallen and all that. and so I think it might be safer to treat them in the same way.
Yeah, I mean,
for this one.
so this is kind of the edge of where the locusts are. And so they're pretty far away, but if you want to just have a condition that at time of COC, it should be free of black locust on 69, I think it would be fine.
All right, cool. It sounds like a plan.
We still have to open up to to the public, and we haven't done that yet.
Yeah, you're right. It's true. Is there anybody here from the public? I don't see any hands up. Anybody want to put their hand in the air and comment on this one?
69 or 70.
Going once. Going twice. All right, presumably nobody here. All right. So then, yeah, I think, if anybody from the commission wants to throw in another penny into the conversation, by all means, but otherwise it sounds like we're good for a motion.
Okay, so we're talking about closing 69, or do you want to keep them both open? Is that what you're saying, Brian?
Well, I think at this point, I think we've resolved all the issues, right?
Yeah, I'm asking Brian actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Thanks, Mary. I think we should just run them together. Open them, close them, just keep them paired. So I think, I'm depending on the paperwork aspect. If we can close them and sort of close the hearings and then just sort of work out the language, then fine. But if we want to keep the hearings open so that we can review the language in open meeting.
Okay, so then I'd make a motion that we continue both 69 and 71 for invasive species management plans.
Second.
The next meeting.
Second.
Okay, first and second. Roll call. Benjamin, or Bill?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
And I'm also voting yes. Okay, cool.
All right, thank you.
So yeah, we'll work on that.
Yeah.
Next up, what do we have next? David Daly, 22 16th Street. No DP listed, an NOI to construct a new single-family home on Pilings.
Yeah, I'll just have to speak up quick. I don't know if there's a DEP number quite yet. However, I did get quite a few emails when this meeting started from the abutters that they couldn't access the meeting, and they thought that the whole thing should be continued until next month. But obviously we decided to keep proceeding because we didn't inform any of the applicants that it was going to be rescheduled. But I think specifically for this one, I would suggest bumping it a month because I don't even know if any of them are in here. They signed off at 7:30 when they couldn't get in. So I don't know if, I just want to throw that out there, and I guess the commission can decide which way to go.
Okay, thank you. I think that's probably a good thing to do. The more public opportunity, the better. So that being said, we are here and we can run the meeting. So,
well,
let's do it.
I think, look, this was properly noticed, and we notified abutters, and one abutter showed up at the last hearing and did speak on the project, actually in favor of it. What I would like to do is present to you, we did, and then if the commission feels we need to go to the next meeting, then we can talk about that. We did stake out the site prior to or right after our last hearing at the request of the commission, and I understand folks were going to do drive-bys. The other thing we did is we reviewed our plans and submitted an update right after the hearing that just added a couple things. We realized we didn't show the condensers that would be hung on the side of the building back under that deck. The propane tank, we added that detail. We did also get DEP comments were just posted today. And in response to that, and I will I'll go over what we did, is we actually emailed in an update that added 2 notes. One is apparently there was no note that said that the driveway was going to be clamshell or gravel, so we've added that note. And then we made a note to be clear that the area where we're bringing the grade to 10 is being done with clean compatible sand. Those are both things that are in our narrative, but we just made it explicit on the plan. The other thing is that what DEP said on this was that we needed that the driveway could not be paved, needed to be clamshell or compatible material, which we've now labeled on the plan, but that wasn't our narrative. And the other thing was they asked about explaining how fill and the land subject to coastal storm flowage will not cause floodwaters to be displaced or reflected onto adjacent properties in public or private ways. So what I want to point out to you is that what we're doing is taking elevation 10, which exists in this area of the property back here. You can see the 10 contour right here. And we're just basically adding clean sand to make a relatively flat area around the house so that we can have the parking underneath. This is common, done on almost every project you guys see. And what we're talking about is literally filling 6 inches to a foot at the highest point back in this area. We're not filling, we're leveling off this area. We're not doing a fill that would have any effect on floodwaters in any real way. This is also AE 13, outside the limit of moderate wave action. So any water during a flood slowly rolls in here. Any sand is going to help to disperse any energy, but it's not going to reflect it anywhere. And it really should have no effect whatsoever on the way a flood behaves in a coastal situation like this. So with that, I know you guys, where we left off at the last hearings, you guys were going to do site visits. So I wanted to follow up and, get any input from you. I assume that some of you guys went by and saw the stakes.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Cara, have you gotten any piles of emails about this one?
No, I have not.
Okay. Just checking on the public input that you may not be getting tonight. All right, so let's go around the horn. Bill, what's on your mind?
Nothing. I'm clean with it. I'm fine.
Okay. Daniel?
So, Tom, do you have that sort of score sheet for the vegetation? Do you have one of those for this?
Yes. Yeah. This is exactly the same plan as the rendered one. So there should be, the table should be on it. I can go back to the rendered one if I can't find it.
Now, the reason I ask is this, I did drive by and, it looks like other than the remnants of the existing driveway or parking area, it looks like the area is well vegetated. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. And, but there are some areas, and they've all been identified and counted. And then I'm looking for that table. Hold on a second.
Yeah, it's just, it might be one of those cases where you're making improvements, but you're not really adding any vegetation. You've got
so there's areas of existing disturbances 2090 and proposed would be 2065. So we're reducing disturbed areas. Now, what that means is there are out there in that vegetated area, there is an area here that is sand and it's got chunks of pavement in it. And then there's a couple other areas here, here, and here. There's, now, we are not proposing currently to touch this encroachment that comes over from a neighbor. But what we are doing is in this area, so there's this gravel area here, then there's an area here of this sort of lawn area that has very shallow roots, and it has no height to the vegetation, so it's not really performing any dune function. So we are reducing that vegetation there. We're calling that a disturbed area because it's disturbed to the extent that it's not performing a dune function. And we're hoping that you guys understand that that would be better than us having to deal with, trying to remove some of these encroachments over here, which I think would be problematic for neighbor relations. But we are talking a very small, very small footprint, and we've got a top floor that sticks out further than the bottom floor. So on the first floor, we have a small balcony, but the house ends here, and the second floor extends out here. So you're talking, significant height, and I think we've got actually probably better just to go. So if you look at the elevation views, you can see that it's a really pretty small house, and then you've got the small balcony down below. The second floor balcony sticks out a little further, and we also have, this is this utility shelf that I showed you in plan view. So we will get vegetation to grow in areas closer to the building because we've got this way up in the air like that.
I mean, I think it's just not clear to me when I look at the plan exactly where, the activity, the replanting activity is going to occur. I wouldn't have thought that, there's no line there at where are you going to replant in the way of the filled area?
Yeah, so like right here, it says area of existing disturbance to be revegetated, and you can see the line work around the area of disturbance, and then to be revegetated, and then arrows pointing to that. We have a limit of work, so any work beyond that is all done by hand. And then we have this timber disturbance, edge of disturbance all along here, all kind of defined in this line work here.
So where you see proposed edge of disturbance on the north side of the structure?
Yep.
Is that going to be replanted up to the second floor deck? I mean, it's the hatched area, what does that represent?
So the hatched area is the area that will be fully vegetated when we're done.
So what goes in that area between the house and the proposed edge of disturbance?
I believe that current plan was to have sort of a zone of curtilage around there that was sand, but let me, if you give me a second. Actually, David Daly's on, David or Matt, who did the plan, maybe they could chime in, but let me ask those guys. Let's see if they're still on.
Yeah, I'm on, Tom.
Yeah, Matt. So what was the plan here? I'd assume that was sand, but just to be sure, I want to make sure I'm.
Yes, that's sand. Yep.
Okay. So that's a sand area because, we're just trying to give people a place where they can walk around the house without vegetation right up to it. But if the commission wanted, we could trim that up.
All I'm going to say is just when I looked at the lot, it looked like a lot of that was vegetated, and it's not going to be now. I'm just trying to make sense of it. I mean, it does seem like, you've gone to great lengths to minimize the disturbance, but, I'm just having a little trouble kind of reconciling the before and after here.
Right. Well,
We-
so what I see when I'm going out there in terms of dune function is we have this gravel area here, right? And we have the lawn area here, and then we have these areas that are out here. They're providing some function, but the vegetation function is very limited in those areas. To provide a dune function, the vegetation has to at least have a decent root system or have some elevation to it so it can trap moving sand. And we don't really have that in those areas. So what I see is we're going to be providing American beach grass, which is going to provide that function in those areas and also all the way up through this area where it doesn't currently exist. And then there's a little bit of mitigative work here. There's actually a little bit in the right of way over here between the property and the pavement. Although that's off property, so that's not really counted in our calcs.
That's fine, Tom.
Yeah.
I'm just having a little trouble reconciling that, but see what some of the other members have to say here.
Tom, could you go to the table that shows the obviously we're increasing the vegetation. Secondly, we've taken great pains to design this house. If you can just show the ratios of coverage on the lot, I think it speaks volumes.
Right. So this is, yeah, David, this is what we've got right here. It's so we're going by disturbance, and that disturbed area does include some areas that are lawn. So there is some vegetation within our disturbed area, but we are reducing that from 2090 down to 2065.
And what about, Tom, if you can just show that table to show what we actually could have maximized the footprint of this house. We are well under the zoning.
For zoning? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me.
This house this is going to be, I'm a builder too, but this is going to be my own house. It's only 1,300 square feet, the house. As you can see, the max lot coverage could go up to 20%. We're only at 9% of max lot coverage. Additionally, the max floor area ratio could go up to 0.25. We're only at 0.16. So the house is only 1,300 square feet. It's going, harkens back to the smaller cabins on, I guess, on Plum Island. It's a small house, and if you look at the overview of the lot, or the actual house sitting, the footprint on the lot, and it's pulled back to the road, we've taken, like I said, we've taken great pains to design this house to have least impact, not only on the coastal and dune function, but also on the neighbors. As you can see to the left or the right, we're not impinging views as much as we could. So, the design of this house is a really small footprint with the least amount of impact on the land as possible. I also wanted to say that we opened up the public hearing last time, and one neighbor spoke in favor. I didn't hear any other neighbors. I did meet with neighbors on the project, and I met with a couple of them. So, we're just we've had an open dialogue, and no one has contacted us to say that they've had anything against us. Not to say there's not people out there that might be against it, but again, the design itself speaks for itself. This is a really small footprint, which could be technically much larger, but we took great care to make sure that we had the least amount of impact.
And the other thing I'll add is the site does have a sewer and water connection. And this is one of the grandfathered lots on Plum Island that was deemed buildable during the water and sewer project. So as David said, we have, this is the front setback here is actually about 20 feet. We brought the setback down to 14 by talking to the building inspector, and we're allowed to average the setbacks of the adjacent properties. So that allows us to bring this closer to the road, and any closer than 14 feet starts to get difficult on a tight road to, to get a car out and turn. But we're really trying to minimize the impact. And, this is the limit of that gravel right there. So we're not going much further than the end of that gravel with the basic bottom of the house.
Brian, can I weigh in here on a couple of comments?
Yeah, I was just gonna check and see if Dan was done, if he
Okay.
felt like he was okay.
Thanks.
I was done a while ago.
Well, just checking. Yeah, Mary, go for it.
Thanks. So this is a different lot than the others. This one has a lot more dune function. And I would agree with Dan that it's really hard to envision the areas of existing disturbance that you're calling out here. I think it's a little bit of a stretch to call them areas of disturbance, and I think some site photos would be helpful. I have some issues with the glitch in the open meeting that we had at the beginning of this meeting, and if there are potential people that want to comment on this and have not been able to. So I definitely would recommend, my opinion would be to continue the hearing to allow that to occur. I also think that there needs to be some response to the EP comments in writing with respect to the land subject to coastal storm flowage. See, I wouldn't necessarily call that an area of disturbance. There are some areas where there's there's stuff that's washed over the dune during a storm tide, but those little patches change from week to week, year to year. I mean, are going to grow in and grow out. That's not a disturbance. It doesn't appear to be a human disturbance. That seems to be like a natural condition.
Well, it's a lack of vegetation, really, in that.
Yeah, but not the dunes aren't 100% vegetated, so it's not necessarily an area of disturbance, but it there may be some areas that are unvegetated. It's just a little bit hard, a stretch for me to call it a disturbance, area of disturbance.
I think that Matt, who did the plans, was just trying to come up with one word that sort of captures everything. This is sort of the encroaching area.
Right. So let me just finish my comments, Tom, and then you can respond if I could. Just so there's some encroachment from the neighboring property that you showed some photos of, and I don't know whether or not it's worth us doing a little bit of research to determine whether or not those have been approved. If that's work that we need to look at as potential, violation. I don't know what the situation is with that activity. It certainly would benefit your project if you could count that as a restoration area, but that's something that the rest of the commission will have to, weigh on. But I guess the main point I would make is just that I think that we need to keep this hearing open for some more information and some more public input.
Okay. So this is another picture. So this is the area that's very lawn-like. It doesn't have deep roots, and it's got, basically it's got vegetation, but there's a little bit of a gravel base, and it really is not performing a lot of dune function. This is a big part of what's in our calculated area. The thing in terms of disturbed, I mean, this is an area that's unvegetated. I recognize dunes change year to year, but this is also the type of area that the commission has routinely allowed planting within as mitigation on other notices of intent on Plum Island. So with that, but no, I do recognize that, the area, especially the area when you get past that middle part of this lot, and maybe this is a good image to look at. When you get past here, I mean, you've got these sand disturbed areas, as we call them on there. But this area is where the natural heritage area is. There's a sand beach, there's salt marsh. And this area is an area we're trying to stay completely out of. What we've done with our limit of work, if I go back to that plan, what we've done with our limit of work is try to stay behind this pinch point. And this is a real tight limit of work for equipment. Eddie Boyle's not going to really love us when he shows up on site and has to keep his equipment within that. But we're trying to really minimize our footprint on the project. But, if the commission overall, has the same feelings as Mary with regard to the public notice and the meeting, we feel it was properly noticed. You chose to move forward with the hearings tonight. But if the commission wants, plan updates, plan changes, we can certainly look at what we can do between now and that next hearing.
Okay. Good. So Mary, you good?
That's it for now. Thanks.
Okay. Peter.
Hey, Brian, how are you?
I am so just like, whew,
Perfect. So a couple of things. First, I'm going to kind of key off on what Mary said based on what Kara said. It sounds like that there was public input that should be heard. So I think that needs to happen. And David, I'm very appreciative of the fact that you're trying to build a small home on a lot and keep it to a small footprint. I really appreciate that. I was concerned with the last site, but whatever is allowed by zoning is allowed by zoning. But I think being appreciative of the contour of the area and what it's about. It is a small area, and I think this is going to have a little bit more discussion. But I appreciate your intention, David, very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's it, Pete. You good?
Did you say Bill?
No, I'm good.
No, Peter. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think from my perspective, I want to sort of second everybody else's ideas, but then I'm just sort of looking around. Tom, do you put a write-up together about how this project interacts with the bylaw?
Yes. Yeah, it's all in the narrative. It includes all the performance standards.
Okay. Just because I don't think maybe I just missed it. Just sort of all those finer points about new development and, what the erosion rate is and how far back from the erosion base you need to be and that kind of thing. So,
right. So there's no erosion data for this section, and we are not, it's not considered a coastal bank. The erosion data is on the beach, on the ocean side. But the other thing is the talk about new development, redevelopment applies to the VE and the AO zones and not to the AE. So new development is allowed in the AE zone. But that is all in the NOI, and I can actually, if you give me a second.
That's all right. I'll look at it.
Yeah.
I just missed it. Okay. So then it sounds like between, what Mary and Dan have put together, there's a little bit of conversation to be had. So let's keep this one open. I feel like let's continue this, and I'll give Kara time to get caught up and talk to Mary and Dan and listen to what they have to say, and check in with anybody who maybe feels like they could have, would have, should have been here, and we had our snafu. So, I'd rather let them have their chance.
That next meeting is what's the date?
The 13th, I believe. Yeah. So then, all that being said, let's turn to the public to see if anybody is here that made it through everything that's happened already. Is there anybody here, any abutters, members of the public that are here to chat about this one? Going once, going twice. I'm not seeing any hands up. Okay. So maybe they'll show up next time. Yeah, let's keep this one open and see if we can't work through some of these points. Cool. So then who wants to make a motion?
Move to continue to July 13th with the approval of the applicant.
Second,
Okay. Roll call. Bill.
No.
Dan,
Yes.
Mary,
yes.
Peter,
Yes.
and I'm also going to vote affirmative. Bill, thanks for being the surprise vote. I appreciate that once in a while. All right, so then we will pick this one up again next meeting, and we can sort of hopefully resolve these hanging issues and have our full public involvement. Okay, cool. Then what do we have next? How many more do we have you for?
Well, the next one is Manti, which we've requested a continuance on. I have had a discussion with the refuge manager. He was going to be taking his boat out and going to take a look at the site, and then we're going to have follow-up conversations. So I want to try to work with U.S. Fish and Wildlife as closely as I can before we come back in. So we're going to give that another week or so to continue those discussions. So with
Okay.
that, I'm asking for a continuance on Manti.
All right, so I'll do the official open, and then we can officially close. So David Manti, sorry, yes, continue. Map R30, Lot 5, DEP number 0501330, a continued NOI to construct a dock / pier, ramp, and floating dock within the Salt Marsh Resource Area and ACEC. Continuance was requested, and we've got another request continuance. So who wants to make a motion to continue this?
Move to continue till the 13th.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call. Bill,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
and Peter.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. See you next time. And our final item, we've got Justin Leonard at 3 Southern Boulevard. Oh, we did that already. Sorry, we have another final item. We've got to do Nathan Gray at 21 Cottage. We need to continue this one, which I think I opened like 3 hours ago. So who'd like to continue Nathan Gray?
Move to continue 21 Cottage Road to July 13th.
Second.
Second.
All right. Thank you, Bill.
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Peter.
Yes.
I'm also voting in the affirmative. We have COC from Martha Taylor. That's an accident. She will be at the next meeting. She hasn't done her paperwork yet. And then we have a request for COC for Craig Gould at 65 Plum Island Turnpike, DEP 0501343, construction of shed and some new trees. Tara, what's the story on that one?
Yep, I went by Monday to the site, and the shed is constructed according to the OOC, and all of the trees were planted and the shrubs as well along the perimeter of the marsh and wetland resource area.
Okay, it looks okay.
They're all healthy?
Yes.
And did this one come in before you came on? Was there anything left behind by Bill or Kathy?
No, I think it should be good. I think Craig might be on the call. Craig Gould, he sent over the request. I think it was like my first day, but he sent the request over, and I'll get the COC typed up.
Okay, cool. Craig, you wanna chime in?
Yeah, I'm here. I've enjoyed the meeting. And
you're the only one. You're the only one.
I don't wish to extend it any longer. Hopefully we can get the COC and move forward.
All right. All right, let's go to the commission. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Gould or for Kara? All right, I'm assuming that means nobody has any questions. Perfect. Who would like to make a motion to grant the COC?
I will make that motion.
Seconded.
Thank you. Roll call. Bill,
Yes.
Dan,
Yep.
Mary,
Yes.
and Peter.
Yes.
I'll also vote yes. Okay. There you go. Not keeping the meeting going any longer, just like you asked, Mr. Gould. So yeah, Carol will get you that in the mail as soon as she can handle it, or we can. I don't know who anymore.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Sure thing. We have 2 extension permits. A GDA request for extension of an order of conditions for both the science building and the boardwalk project, GDA being the Governor's Academy. So what do we got going on here, Kara?
That one,
Anything?
I'm not too familiar with. I think the representative might be here to speak to it. I'm not sure.
Hi, yes, this is Evan Venran from DeRosa Environmental.
Oh, this is what you were here for.
Yeah. Luckily, it was a Zoom meeting, so I could multitask in between. Yeah, so the Governor's Academy has 2 orders of conditions valid at this time. One is for a proposed or an approved science building, and one is for a boardwalk. Both of these projects have not been started yet. They were waiting, or they're in the process of collecting the necessary funds. And obviously things got put on hold this past year due to the pandemic. So they're gearing up and they have prospective funding and hoping to complete these projects soon.
How many years are you requesting for the extension?
If we can, if you'll, 3, if we can, yeah.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
I wasn't here obviously for these projects. I don't know if Dan or Bill or you guys have any thoughts on the projects, or whether they should be extended or not, based on your knowledge of them.
Yeah, I remember doing these, and we talked about it a lot. And yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's anything new that if we did deny it and they came back, for instance, we might have a different kind of conversation about the dock. Right, Dan, this is the one where they've got the big sort of dock hung out over the trail, and they've got the grant built down to the floating dock, which I think that, it's a clever project, but with the new dock policy, we might have a slightly different conversation about it. But I think that's the only thing that would be different.
Yeah, it's water over the dam, I mean, we should, I think we should issue the extensions. In fact, I'll make that motion to issue extensions to both of those orders.
I'll second that.
Okay. Roll call.
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
That was
with the thumb.
Not really. Daniel.
Yep.
Mary.
Yes.
Peter.
Yes.
And I'm also going to vote yes.
Great. Thank you very much.
Sure thing. Thanks for waiting.
Yes, have a great night.
You too. I think I am going to have a great night because we just destroyed that meeting in 2 hours. The last item that we've got here is that the Great Marsh Partnership project, the UNH team that we've seen a few times, have asked for letters of support, to help with their funding applications. And Tracy passed on a request from Jeff that they'd like to see us put a support letter together. And the select board has already done so for Newberry, and they'd like us to sort of join in on that. So anybody want to? So the floor is open if anybody wants to ask questions. I don't know how much I know about it, It's pretty straightforward.
Is this the project where they were doing the compression runnels?
Yeah. Yeah. Connor, anything that I missed on that you've got on your end?
Seems I'd be okay with a letter of support.
Okay. I mean, I think it's a good idea, but anybody else? Thoughts, ideas, etc.?
Sounds like a good idea to me.
Sounds like
right.
a good idea to me.
Beautiful. That's a first, second, and a third, as far as I'm concerned. All right. Roll call vote. Do we need to vote on this? I don't know. Let's do it anyway. Bill.
Yes. I'm in favor.
Dan.
Yes.
Mary.
Yes.
And Peter.
Yes.
And I will also vote yes. So Kara, you can put a stamp of approval on a letter.
Okay.
And with that, congratulations everybody on the fastest meeting we've had in months, on the longest agenda I think I've ever seen ever for any commission anywhere. Nice job.
Can I just raise one issue here? So we had a hearing open on 31 Plum Island Turnpike, the town of Newberry, in May 11th was the last hearing. And I don't know what the history is since then. I suspect it did not come up. It was not on the first meeting of the month on the 1st. So I don't really know what the status is, whether we should just assume it was continued to tonight, or, you know, if it drops off the agenda, I don't know what happens then either.
Has to be
Good
renoticed.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd have to be re-advertised.
That's what I'm suspecting. And
Yeah.
but if there was some, you know, if we could like continue, if it had been continued to tonight, maybe we could open it and continue it again. I don't know. It's just, it fell through the cracks when it seemed prudent to cut things from the agenda just so we didn't have to deal with them.
Yeah, or like maybe when Kathy was building the agenda, she hadn't put this one on yet. And then, you know, Kara and Gretchen didn't know to put it on, perhaps.
Well,
so then, can we do an insurance continuance? Is that like essentially what we're talking about?
It's not on the agenda, then it doesn't, we can't take action
So
on
we
it.
can't do it.
So,
Posted.
but Kara might look into it and try to figure out what happened. You know, how we had you know, opened a hearing on a notice of intent and it just sort of vaporized.
Yeah, that sounds good. What number was that again?
It's 31 Plum Island Turnpike.
Okay.
Nice one, Dan. See, this is why you can't go anywhere. You keep me honest.
We also have to decide on whether our next meeting is virtual or in person, sounds like.
Yeah, so the select board has made their opinion known that they want it to be in person. I really like these, minus what happened today. But I feel like there's good involvement, and, you know, to the extent that I can, you know, I'm trying to push, you know, the hybrid model. But, you know, what would the board like to do? You guys have an opinion?
I like the virtual.
Okay, anybody else?
I think we all appreciate what technology can do and how it can pull more people into a meeting, more public into a meeting. But I think you raised a very good point, because planning this has this question too. For boards that are appointed, they have to follow the direction of the select board. For boards that are elected, they can make their own independent decision on this. So you have to follow the direction of the select board.
Really? I didn't know there was that distinction involved.
I learned that earlier today in a conversation regarding this.
That's really interesting. All right, well then our opinions don't matter.
Well, they do matter. And I think having the conversation about the public involvement is very, very important. I mean, it should be, memorized. It is important.
Well, but I mean, for the sake of what we're doing at the next meeting, that means we have to have an in-person meeting for the next one.
Yes.
Yeah, but if we can figure out how to craft a hybrid model so that we can retain the involvement and the sharing. I mean, the screen sharing has been fantastic. Looking over the engineer's shoulders to see what point of the plan you need to see, in person meetings is terrible. And those, poster boards you have to carry around all over the place. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for the education. Simplifies the question.
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
I really, what you just mentioned, Brian, is, I mean, I think if we can keep the electronic stuff, I mean, we should have that television or a projector or something going on at in-person meetings. Like you say, the poster board kind of like, that's like 1950s or something, isn't it?
Yeah, that was out of style when we left before the pandemic. Yeah. No, I mean, and by now we know how to do this. It's not like we're like trying something new. Like this is old hat now.
I also think that delivering the electronic files to us, having those on the Dropbox or whatever the sharing method is. So, I mean, I'd really like to see that continue, even if we go back to the old days. I still think it's a benefit to share those, share the plans in that way. It's a lot of work, but I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
A lot of towns are doing that, where they're having, a lot of the communities will have a PowerPoint presentation for each presentation. They've got them preloaded and they're able to display on a large screen in the hearing room so everybody can see. I don't know if we have that technology.
Yeah, I don't think we did last time I was in the meeting room, but who knows? So then I suppose for what it's worth, Kara, you can just, tell everybody that we're big on hybrid. We see a hand in the air. Matthew Cooper, who are you and what are you here for?
Oh, hang on. Am I unmuted? Yes, I am. Sorry. Hi, I'm the reason the meeting's actually going off this evening after the technical difficulties. I just wanted to let everyone know, the screen in the main meeting room at Town Hall, sorry, let me turn off the air conditioner, is absolutely capable of taking a laptop or a Surface or a whatnot to take in the meeting. The Dropbox is completely separate and available for as long as we need it or you need it. And there's no reason why, for the purposes of reviewing stuff, if you wanted a BYOD to a meeting, you could not only could the stuff be displayed on the large screen for the general population, but you could all have it directly in front of you for, more zooming in and out type stuff at your leisure. So the technology is still there, regardless of where the meeting law rulings happen.
We don't usually meet in the selectmen's meeting room though, do we? Or...
Yeah, we get bumped from it relatively frequently. And we end up in the library or at the fire department every once in a while. So, Matt, if the library meeting room is going to have that same capability? If we end up getting bumped?
I can absolutely look into that. That'd be something we'd want to have on the sites anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm late to the party as far as town government in Newberry is concerned, but I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, just so that, if, I don't know how many other boards have this issue where, we intersect with needing the same space at the same time. But, we've never actually used the fire department, I don't think. Dan, you probably know better than anybody. Have we ever
Oh,
actually had to
that's
go
it.
to the fire department?
That's infrequent, but one thing I would say is we go to the library, like maybe a question from Matt is just, how are we recording meetings in, if we have in-person meetings now, is it still the little Sony camera or?
Yes, we're working on fixing that in the not too far future, but yes, as of this conversation, the previous recording setup is still in effect.
And that sort of gets complicated when we go to the library, let's say. And with a every 3-week meeting schedule, it seems like we land on the selectmen, we're going to get shunted elsewhere. So we don't have the same facilities wherever we go. That's kind of one of the beauties of the Zoom meeting is the recording aspect.
Let me look into what those options are. Yeah, I see no reason why the same options shouldn't be available at every venue. I don't have a complete answer for you now, but I can definitely look into that and get back to you.
That'd be great, Matthew.
All right, that was a bonus discussion. Didn't see that one coming. Awesome. Well, anybody else have any technological intrigue for Matthew? Any requests for getting your own personal iPad or whatever?
Oh, what?
What, you didn't know that? Every year, the board members, especially of the Conservation Commission, get a new personal device from the town every year. The best one available.
Hey, Brian, a nice opportunity to thank Bill Lord for being here, and we're going to miss him.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Yeah, Bill, and the fact that you still want to come on a site walk, you're coming right up to the end of the line. I like it.
Well, it's been fun. It's been educational.
You obviously, I appreciate that you're sticking with us because this is hard work. So it's nice having the perspective. Well, then, Bill, in honor of this being your last meeting, then maybe you should make the motion to close it.
I make a motion to close this meeting.
All right. Anybody else before we finalize that? Anything else going on?
Dan, you want to second
Also,
that?
I said,
Second.
well, I was going to say we should probably high five Kara for surviving her first meeting. That was a disaster to start. So,
welcome,
crowd by
Kara.
fire.
Thank you and welcome, Kara.
Welcome, Kara. Yes.
Anyway,
All right,
who seconded that?
Dan.
All right. Roll call. Let's get out of here. Can we vote by turning the screens off?
Yeah.
Yes.
See you later.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
All right.
Thanks.